Okay, so skipping ahead a little bit, might as well give you this week's update on where I am with this and what I've done and where I'm going. So I just showed you how I did the canopy glass. This is what it ends up looking like with the canopy glass glued in. I didn't worry about keeping it super clear, partially because I want it to be fogged, or not fogged, but dirty. I have to figure out how to do the scoring or whatever it is. When you look at the actual image of it, it's got dirt and dust and crap on it. So I'm going to try and find a way to duplicate that. It's not like I can put pigments on it, so what I think I may end up doing is dry brush stippling. But I will practice on a piece of other, a piece of this stuff that I have, that I've trimmed off, and we'll try that. So essentially the cockpit itself is done. So I finally got the cockpit where I think I'm good enough to put that in. I know it looks really rough right now, but should do well enough. As was pointed out, one of the things, you see them sort of crawl up over the tooth. Is this 100% accurate? No, but it gives the right look. It has the look I'm looking for. Against the back, I have a piece of cardstock, which is what I usually do to do filler. Painted the doorway so that when you do look through in the very little bit that you manage to see, you'll see something that looks like that using forced perspective. I focused on decals and so forth there on the instrument panels that you will see. Put a little bit of decaling there, some there, to give the indications in, it's not hyper detailed like you would see in like an F-18 or F-16 cockpit, because you really get a lot of that blocked. A lot of that stuff's going to get blocked off by the canopy, and you're going to miss a lot of what would be hyper detailing stuff. So you can get away with more suggestion than whatever. So that's about how this is going to fit. Now what's going to end up happening when this goes on is this is going to get set in, and then once I get it lined up well, then I'll fix the seam and the fitment, because that's an issue we have here, and then we'll have something that looks hopefully decent. Now the whole point of doing this the way I did it was so that I could light it. So let's reattach the wiring, since it wants to come off all the time. I just kind of have this quickie wrapped here, so that I can just sort of kind of look at it. So with it, that's what you see with the canopy off, and it actually really comes out more once the canopy's on. So you end up with the canopy on there, and then lights up. And that lights up in the back very well, and I'm actually glad I put that doorway in there, because once that monitor comes on, it does show the back there. You get a decent shot of the rear pilot, and you get a decent look at the other parts of the lit cockpit. You also see the viewfinder there that our front pilot is looking through. So yes, I did go through and I did put water slide transfers of instrumentation over the other lights so that it had a decent look to it. I had just lights like those. See those 5 in the back there? It all looked like that, and that looked kind of bleh. So taking the time and putting in the water slide transfers to cover everything else actually made a difference. So there's my cockpit. There's the cockpit front piece. Then we have, I had to hollow out that a little bit more. These have the first coat of just cover paint on it before I put the covers on them. Now the next thing I did was the magnetization. So these little spikes here are drying, so I can't really put this in to show you completely, but I went and put magnets on there. There's 2 holes there, magnet here, as well as magnet there, so that when these go in, they'll just clip and they'll stay put. So if I actually slide this into the thing, if I can get this to go here around the camera, there. So that'll just click when it's in there. There we go. So when that's in there, that'll click and that'll stay put. With this in, now I've had to tighten that hole up, which is why I'm not actually doing that. But with those 2 magnets there, they will hold that there, so it will hang like that. So you actually have this. That's an attempt at making this thing magnetizable, so it will fit. So I did that on both sides, which, you know, you can kind of see how that works out. I'm happy with that. It has a good, it actually works well. They're snug in there, and then most of these magnets should hide in the paint job. So that's the magnets for the under wings. The up wings won't need it because, you know, they will use gravity in either of their deployment zones. Yes, so what I did end up doing was the decision I made was to use mine, and we're still waiting to hear back from Prodos Games, hint, Prodos Games if you're watching, on what they're going to do about, you know, the actual owner's underwing pods. But I've decided to make, you know, the worry about that future me's problems, because I got into working with magnets today and got the magnets done. So the other thing I did with the magnets was I did my landing gear. So we have the landing gear. I think, do I have it backwards? Yes, I have them backwards. And they actually are handed. So the landing gear's in, they just drop in. And the other one here, you can see magnets there, click, right? And then the cool thing is that each of these pieces, the landing gear is at the right spot to hold each piece. So I could actually let them sit. So if I put them together, and I am going to try this real quick. I'm going to mess with your view here for a moment. And yeah, that's how that will go. So that's it up on its landing gear. And excuse me again. There we go. Yeah, so I did a cut there because it looked like crap when I was putting it back. So anyway, the magnets are enough that I can pick it up and the gear will stay put. And so when the whole thing is together, I can pick the whole thing up and take the landing gear off or put the landing gear on. And I also have the same for the gear up concept. So this is the cover for the gear. Now I had to put those pieces in because those magnets are further in, but this will drop right in here. And the same for these. And again, these are handed. So that goes there, that goes there. So we'll paint those. So when I do the gear up mode, I have those. And then I will also have this piece, which will go in here. And this is the piece that will be attached to the flight stand. So the flight stand itself, which is in reach. Here we go. So the flight stand itself is going to be, mounted, hard mounted to this piece right here. So wherever the center of gravity is, I think it's going to end up being right around there. And this piece will magnetize into those 4. Now, I have not done this yet, and I didn't do the gear down ramp yet, because I have to have this whole thing put together so I know where everything is. So I haven't gotten that far yet, so that's the last bit of magnetization that I have yet to do. But that is simple. So that piece, so those of you who are looking at this and want to do, both versions, right? The gear up or gear down. That piece, those magnetized piece, that's easy. I'm still not convinced this is going to work well. I don't know if the magnets are strong enough because there's a lot of torque here, and if this is actually kind of short, and it has to be so it doesn't stick through there. I mean, as it is, as long as that piece is right there, that is almost the width of this. So if I make it any longer, it's going to stick through there, and it's going to stick through. And that's going to kind of ruin the look, at least from my perspective. So I don't know. We'll see. So the magnetization of this is easy. Those pieces there is very simple to do. Those pieces are very simple to do. So the next step I have, next up, will be, and I apologize again for mucking with the camera. I do this a lot because I am fumble-fingered. So the next step I have is wiring up. So what I've also done is I have scribed panel lines into the top. And you can see I screwed up here. I missed and I went all the way through. So I have to wait for that to dry before I can sand that down and clean it up. But I have scribed in panel lines here. I have scribed in panel lines across the back here. So that'll give this a little more interest. So when I paint it up, those will be there. So next step is getting this in, putting the cockpit in place, then wiring all this up. So I think what I do next is I put in the battery containers, if they are in reach. Yep, there they are. So I put in the battery containers, which will go up in here, do all the wiring, at least for the front piece, put the back to the front, finish the wiring, and then once all the wiring stuff is in place, detail this. And that's kind of an idea. One of the interesting things I saw when I looked at the movie is there's a row of lights here in the landing bay. When Spunkmeyer comes walking up, you can see it. When Spunkmeyer, when Hicks calls for dust off and evac, just before the dropship crashes. Spoiler alert. When Spunkmeyer's running up, you can see up into the landing bay, and you see this is a wall, and you see lights along here. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that I am going to do it. It depends on my mood. But I'm going to put some sort of interest here and something here, at least for when you see in the front. If you look at it from the front, so when you have those nice cinematic looks this way, toward the front of it, if you want to get down and look up, then that'll look decent. I may also detail the sides of this just because it might be cool to do so. Because the landing gear and flight stand are going to be in the landing mounts, I can do that. I don't have to muck with this much more. I'm going to have to cover where the wires come in here. But as long as I shove that all up up high in here against the upper walls, then I should be fine. So there you go. We've gone over, what all we've done so far. I'm actually now getting to the point where we have another bit of rapid assembly. So there's big pieces going together again. And then, then it's fiddling. Then it's a little bit of painting, a little bit of detailing, figuring out how the flight stand is going to work. Oh, by the way, yeah, this was, I don't know if I actually showed, that's the flight stand painted up. I wanted to paint, so I did my flight stand painted up. You guys saw it when it was just, raw resin. I actually like doing that. This is fun. Doing doing bases is fun. Which is another question I should ask, the recipient, is whether or not he wants a base for the gear down too. Anyway, there we go. I just wanted to, give you a bit of show where I was, what I've got. So I hope that you've, again, find where we go interesting and find yourself not being daunted by ideas. If you've got a thought I want to try something, do it. Yeah, these are panelized. Yeah, so rivets and all that, those are coming. I'll probably do some of those on this before I put all this together. So there we go. Again, thank you for watching, and I guess this was part 4. And later on I'll have some more for you. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon. Good luck, and enjoy your own models. Thank you very much.